Hey, it's Mo. I thought we would talk about the new Fenty Snap Shadows today. I would imagine there's quite a few videos out at this point, but I thought still you might find it useful to get my take on these. I do not have all of them. As with all things that I review on my channel, I purchased them myself. So, you know, the budget only allows for so much, but I picked out the two that interested me the most, and I did swatch all of them in store and in Sephora, I should say, and these were the two that I chose. So they are $25 a piece, or if you buy two, they're $45. Now that savings is not a lot, really. You're saving like $2.50 a palette, so don't be totally taken in by the, ooh, I save so much money if I get two of them. I mainly got two because I thought it would be helpful for you if I reviewed two. So I got number 2 and number 4. 2 is the cool neutrals, 4 is the rose. And I thought those were, you know, different enough that it might be useful for you to see the different colors and that kind of thing. As always, if you're new around here, I use natural light, and I know that can be imperfect at best, but the reason that I do that is that so things look realistic, or as close to realistic as possible, without any filtering, without any fancy lighting, any of that stuff. So I understand if that frustrates you, or if you don't like it, that's cool. You don't have to hang out if that bugs you too much. I get it. Let's look at what the palettes look like. So this is obviously the number 2. These are the Snap Shadows. The colors are on the back. This is the cool neutrals, as I mentioned. The packaging is plastic. I don't find it that spectacular, to be honest. It's just kind of a plastic palette. I do appreciate the nice mirror in there, and it does say, I'm not sure if you can see, it does say Fenty Beauty down here. So yeah, number 2, cool neutrals. And I admit, when I looked online and was wondering what colors I might get, I do enjoy a cool neutral palette. I particularly love purples, and so this one was kind of the one that I was fairly certain I was going to get. And after swatching them, I decided that, you know, that fit pretty well with the kinds of things I like. And then the other one is number 4, which is the rose palette. Again, the packaging is just kind of, I don't know, feels a little bit cheap to me, to be quite honest. There we go. There is the rose palette. And, you know, just looking at them, I think it's hard to argue that they're very attractive to look at. I think the layout of the colors is really nice. Again, the colors are on the back. The color names are on the back. And that's interesting because the reason these are called snap palettes, which you may or may not know, is because they snap together. So you know, you can kind of customize, right? So you've got, oh, I'm traveling, which I don't do that often. I've got my cool neutrals with me, and oh look, I've also got my rose with me. So that's kind of the concept behind them, is that they snap together like that, which I think is interesting and certainly can be useful. But what I find curious is that the colors are on the back. So if you snap them together, I can no longer see what the colors are, color names. Now, some people don't care about that. And does it really matter? Probably not, but I'm kind of a nerd and I like to know the names of the colors that I'm using. And I know some other people like that, so I think I would have preferred, well, I know I would have preferred if they had just put the shadow names somewhere in here and left the back just blank, because especially if they're going to be snapped together, it really doesn't do you much good, right? At least not me. So I'm going to unsnap these so I can tell you the colors if you're interested, and then I'm going to swatch these for you. So let's do number 2, the cool neutrals first. Pull up my sleeve, get ready for some swatching here. Here's how it opens. You have to kind of get under here. I have to do it with my nail and kind of pull that up. I don't think it's the most ergonomic packaging, maybe we'll say. This is You There, Wife It Up, and Risky Riches. And the top is Up a Class, Hey Auntie, and Getting Toasty. Let's go this way. So I'm going to start here. They feel very soft. And this is not a first impression. I've used each of these already. Pretty shimmer. Definitely cool tone. We got that pretty kind of mauve there. You can definitely see the shimmer. That's not a problem. So those are the top 3. And then the bottom 3. We'll go from here. Again, it feels quite soft. None of these 3 have glitter in them. Shimmer, yes, but no glitter particles or anything like that. So you can see in the swatch that purple doesn't quite swatch as well as the rest of the palette. That is not unusual. Purples and blues are difficult to create. I've said before, I do not know why that is. Clearly it has something to do with the way the pigments are. I'm going to add to that one so you can get a better sense of the color. It's a lovely color, really rich, beautiful purple. I'm just going to give you another second to look at those swatches. I always find that helpful. So that was number 2, Cool Neutrals, as I said, and then number 4 is Rose. And I double checked, it's not Rosé. It's just Rose, even though everything seems to be named Rosé right now. There's the colors again. We'll give you the names, again, if you're interested. So we've got Sleepover, Lil Miss, Stunt Queen, here, Sugar Shock, Spice Trip, and Diva Fever. So we're going to do the same thing. We'll start at the top. This one feels a little gritty. There's the shades. Yeah, you can see that pink doesn't swatch. The more magenta color, I should say, doesn't swatch quite as well. Then down here, that one's quite gritty as well. And you can tell that's more of a glitter. It's not a pressed glitter. I don't know if I'd technically call it like a sequin shade where it's a matte with glitter in it. It's very pretty. It swatches very nicely. I'm going to swatch this again just to see. And that feels drier. There you go. Let's swatch both of these again. So there's a better indication of the color. Now, of course, you had to build that up, and that's using a finger, not a brush. So there's all the shades from the Rose palette. So I could obviously use either one of these for a look today. Mostly I'm just demoing these. But I thought we'd do the cool neutrals because, you know, there are just fewer cool palettes available, and I like cool colors, and I know I have definitely people who watch me. J. Marie, I'm thinking of you, who really like cool colors, and they're a little tougher to find, so I thought we'd do this one. And I'm going to use the mirror in the palette, as you can see. And I'm going in with this shade right here into the kind of the crease transition area. My brushes are not clean, which, as you know, means all is right with the world because I don't wash them as much as other people. And as is often true when I kind of demo eyeshadows in particular, I'm not trying to come up with some fantastic look. I'm mostly trying to show you how things perform. So that was just kind of one dip into the pan. I'm going to go back in. Oh, and I'm using my Wayne Goss eye brushes, which I use in the majority of my videos. These are a year old now. I got them last Christmas, actually, as a gift. So that's what we got from that color right there. This is a very similar look to what I did yesterday, actually, in my real life, not my video life. Which really is, I mean, my video life is pretty real. And this is just a smaller of the Wayne Goss brushes that I'm going in a little more on the outer corner. Just kind of blend that up. And this is just a very medium, I'd say this for a lot of people, this would be kind of their obvious choice for a transition shade. There are only 2 mattes in this palette, so this, as I'm using this kind of transition shade and then this deeper shade, everything else has some degree of shimmer or sparkle. So I definitely want to use that purple. You know, it didn't swatch quite as well, but let's see what kind of color we get, because I really do love purples. They tend to work well with my eye color and my skin tone. This is a fairly dense flat brush from Morphe. This was in their little holiday eye set that I bought. This is the M167 from Morphe. I like it because it is dense and stiff, and I think it's good for laying down color. I'm just putting that purple kind of on the, again, starting at the outer corner and moving it in about halfway on the lid. The shade does have some shimmer to it. Not overly sparkly, but some shimmer. I'm kind of packing that on, as you can see. And I've dipped into the pan twice for each eye already. And so that's kind of the color payoff. It's a pretty shade. I think it comes off more subtle than you might expect from the pan. What I mean is, this is not one of those pigmented shades that you're just like, boom, oh my gosh, this is the most pigmented shade I've ever seen. But, as I've also said on several occasions, that is not always a bad thing. It depends on what you want. You know, some people want that color payoff right away. Some people prefer that it's not quite so in your face. So what I'm saying is, at least with both of these palettes, they've come across more subtle than I anticipated when I bought them. So that was the purple, obviously, and I'm going to go in with this one on my finger, kind of right here, basically on the center, and then sometimes I work that over to the inner corner with my little finger, just for a little more precision. That's a nice soft shade, meaning soft to the touch and soft to look at as well. I did feel like with the rose palette, I didn't feel like they were building or blending fantastically. I felt like I had to work a little harder than I expected to. And I would sort of say that's true of this too, but I really like the look I got yesterday, and I like this look. And I'm just using that darkest shade right here. You know, kind of standard stuff on the outer corner. Deepen that up a little bit. I do feel like they're a bit difficult to blend out. Even though they're not super pigmented, I feel like they aren't just like super blendy. I would prefer they were just a little easier to blend. Particularly if they're not going to have the color payoff. It seems like often you have to choose, right? If you want crazy pigmentation, then they're going to be a little harder to blend. And if they're a little lighter, well, then maybe you get to blend them a little easier. I think these maybe, I don't know. They're not giving me everything I want, but I don't dislike them. I know it's kind of non-specific. They're not what I expected. I will say there's not much kick up in the pan. You can see that. They're, you know, it's not one of those soft like Anastasia Beverly Hills shadows that just there's powder everywhere, which is, I know a lot of people do not like that. I'm putting that darker shade under my lower lash line again. So that's the general idea. And again, I really feel like, I don't know why, I feel like these are difficult to blend. Or maybe not as easy as I would have expected. I have many shadows that I think are a lot easier to blend. So, my thoughts on these. They weren't as good as I had expected. Now, were my expectations reasonable? I don't know. These are $25 palettes. By the way, each pan is 1 gram, so there's 6 grams in each palette. I should have mentioned that. Pretty standard for most palettes. Am I disappointed with the looks I've gotten? No. I felt like I had to work a little harder to get them than I thought I would have to. Maybe that's the best way to put it. So do I think they're awful? No. Do I think they're just crazy good? No. I think they fall somewhere in the middle. And, you know, 2 for $45. If there's 2 color palettes that you really think you're going to use and like there's 2 neutral palettes. There's obviously the cool neutrals I showed you, but then there's I forget what it's called. True Neutrals, I think is the name of it. You know, maybe you'd go for that and you'd use those all the time and that would be great. Based on my impressions, will I buy more of them? No, I'm not going to buy any more of them. Would I buy these again? Boy, that's a tough question. I think I would buy the cool neutrals just because it's difficult to find cool palettes and it's a small palette and it'll be handy. The rose, while it was pretty and it gave me a decent look, probably not, just because I feel like these colors are kind of everywhere. So that's what I got on the Fenty Beauty Snap Shadow palettes. I hope that was helpful. As always, that is my only purpose here. Thanks for hanging out and let me talk makeup. The sun has finally come out. Perfect timing. I hope you're having a good day, and I will talk to you soon.